My name is Simo's Thailand, but this is not my Honda dream, and welcome to the Thailand Vloggers universe.
Hello.
Right now, there are vloggers filming in every single province in Thailand. We've seen some incredible adventures already, but the best part is, a new year's only just getting started. So sit back and join us as we look back on this incredible year together. I know, I borrowed it.
What Simo does is he bunches all us Thai vloggers together and he makes like a collage vlog.
Before we look back on the comings and goings of channels, let's remind ourselves of some of the events of the first half of 2021. As the new year of 2021 began, much of the world was in lockdown and under restrictions to help curb the deadly virus. And Thailand was now fighting its own outbreak, seeing large numbers of cases at first amongst migrant workers connected to a seafood market west of Bangkok. In the vloggersphere, the December trend for ASQ hotel videos continued as more people returned to Thailand. The staple Thailand vloggers were certainly still travelling around though.
We're still on lockdown, by the way, people.
And we continued to see the normal hotel and road trip style videos.
Here they are, real rice fields and huge green rice fields.
Thumbnail says it all. I have a bad feeling.
Although some had been hit hard by 2020 and were now starting to think about returning home.
And in particular, my circumstances.
But I can clearly remember one dark evening in lockdown here in the UK, watching a vlogger sat in a nice resort on the beach, being served lunch by the pool, complaining about restrictions. I really wish I could remember who that was and have the video playing now, but I guess everything is relative to your own situation. As January progressed, we saw more videos though, showing us the real impact of restrictions in Thailand too. Vloggers showed us how condo swimming pools and gyms were closed and schools were moving to online teaching.
Gym in there, so it's all shut, you can't go in there. Ooh. Another level of screening.
What do you have Monday first?
As the early months passed by and cases in Thailand fell, we saw yet more ASQ videos, together with holiday vloggers stuck in their home countries, trying to keep their channels ticking over after many months offline. We saw my mate Nate reach the 10 million subscriber mark, gaining millions more subs than even the mighty Mark Weens. In a curious move, we saw foreigner Joe move his content and effectively merge his channel with Thai Gal Gift. In general, Thailand vloggers carried on with their daily life videos together with travelling, showing how amazingly discounted many resorts now were.
Yeah, baby. Cheers.
But around this time, we also saw the rise of cannabis cafes, with the likes of James and Lucas trying the new herb dishes available, and Idea Studios, Dana and Jib even taking us to a cannabis products fair.
At an Instagram moment than anything else, but let's see what we get.
So these guys are practitioners made with cannabis leaf in the broth and the seasoning.
Live streams were still a good way of keeping channels going, with the possibility of endless talk on reopenings, vaccines, travel restrictions and so on, plus providing hours of useful watch time. We also saw Martin's popular Vloggers Corner round up channels each week.
I've got a wee question here from Chris, that's who. He's asking me, I've stopped doing my Vloggers Corner. No, really, no. Maybe we'll start that next week again. I'll tell you where I stole the idea from. And it was a YouTube channel called Simo's Thailand, I think it was. Simo's Thailand, I think it was.
No way! You gotta be kidding! That's not right!
In the lead up to Thai New Year, we witnessed the start of another travelogue, a next level adventure even, with the Doyle, the Padster, embarking upon his grand tour of Thailand, although it didn't quite start off as planned though.
Let's see if my bike's here. I don't see it. Look, Ken Tang.
Things too across Thailand were about to go wrong, as a cluster of COVID cases emerged at Bangkok's nightlife venues in the lead up to the Songkran holiday, just as many Thais typically travel across the country to celebrate with their families. Following record daily increases in cases, tighter measures were introduced, with school closures, mall opening hours reduced, bars shut and restaurants banned from serving alcohol.
But just the update, everything's gone to shit.
Bangkok, in particular at nightlife venues such as bars, clubs, karaoke places and such. The city has already ordered a 2-week closure of almost 200 such places.
It had now been 1 year since the passing of Kevin Thailand, with silly rumours around him having staged his death and that he was living back in England, together with photos of some seemingly random bloke supposed to be him. Never to be held down though, Thailand vloggers were still showing us their adventures.
I think we've got a barbecue planned later.
Today is a travel day here in the province of Trang in southern Thailand.
And a number of them now had building projects underway, which provided even more escape from the depressing global situation. Whilst the expat retiree style channel with daily life vlogs could easily carry on week to week,
joining a group today going up to Monjam, not to the tourist area.
You can you raft out of that? No chance. Right, you do that, I'll go check the bamboo.
The traveller channels who, firstly, had probably been in Thailand a year or more than originally intended, plus perhaps finding your typical travel or hotel vlogs not being as popular at that time, started to focus on more situation or challenge style vlog. The 7-Eleven or street challenge or 100, 200, 300 baht a day budget eating challenge.
Nearly 10,000 new
As we neared the year's midpoint, things took a turn for the worse in May, with an outbreak in Bangkok's largest slum. The situation wasn't looking good, but Thailand was trying to start its own, somewhat delayed, vaccine rollout to counter the problem. And the supposedly mass rollout started in June, but while case numbers steadied for a few weeks, they then rocketed upwards again. So before we look at the second half of the year, let's look at the channels that hit new heights, disappeared, or become an integral part of the genre in 2021.
Not Korean, it's from Manchester.
I like to talk about our community a lot, if you haven't noticed.
By the end of 21, we had a much bigger group of 100Kers, whilst Dead Farang and the Holistic Trainer, I'll classify him as a Thailand blogger for now, have been over 100K for a few years. We saw Esquire Unlimited, Lily's Expat Life, and Mickey Stotch, all well into the 6-figure subs numbers, not to mention Chris, retired working for you.
My name's Chris and I'm retired working for you.
And leading the way, of course, CB Media. Now Chad had a mixed year in some ways. Not being able to make his normal style of motor videos, he made some content that got some negative reactions, like destroying the motorcycle that many suggested he could have just given away to someone who needed it. Not to mention the whole Titanic boat saga. In the final months of 2021 though, we did see a return to the norm, but Chad returned to the States just before Christmas, and looks unlikely to return until much later into 2022. We've had a lot of new channels appear during COVID time, and seen some real personalities.
Yeah, the owner's not going to be too happy.
Little status update everyone, I've just made it a whole lot worse. Check it out.
Feel wrong
together with many people making blogging their job.
On how I was invited to their wedding in the first place.
So, good news and bad news. So the good news is I'm gonna let you know how my ebook did, okay? I waited 1 week.
Because video is my passion. Look, I love creating this. I've got this camera here, this camera here, this. It doesn't have to be creative, but I get to do what I enjoy and love every single day.
We're gonna do our best.
We also saw the rise of couple channels.
Now.
But with some breakups along the way.
Achieved together and some travel buddy lady.
My husband and I have
decided to separate and to get divorced.
And then towards the end of the year, a new generation of travel vloggers started to emerge. But through that rotating door, we also had some channels disappear or go quiet. The good Farang, Paul, had disappeared from YouTube in 2020 and now seemingly deleted his channel. The dead Farang made a couple of videos early in the year, but then stopped. Darren Be Free was a similar story.
And this is Ananda and Orn. Tonight we're doing a road trip through Trang in the south of Thailand.
Simon, Land of Smiles, returned to the UK to work, but had the odd live stream with Rob. We also had Bangkok Diaries Thailand, Dave, delete his channel.
Integrating into Thai culture. Okay. And then I played the intro.
After a very public and targeted video about his personal life and past. And later in the year, Richard Travel, Richard, paused things. Several channels also changed their name, but with varying degrees of success. For some it worked, like Flora and Note, or Carry Away. For others, not so much, like Chocolate Man in Thailand, after trying Retired Life Problems.
Man, I don't even know what day it is.
Or Greenie Travels, trying Retire Like a King.
Let's go check it out, let's go see how much it is.
So where did we get to with 2021? As the second half of the year started, there was much more positivity outside of Thailand as countries opened up for the Western summer. And Thailand had found their tool to allow more tourists to come back after the STV and ASQ programs. They created the Sandbox in Phuket. So from July 1st you could get to Thailand and no longer quarantine in a room. Now you could roam the island. But across Thailand, daily cases passed the 5,000 level, and then 10,000 only a week later. As Thailand became a map of largely orange, red and dark red provinces, curfews and strict controls swept across the country. The question wasn't so much now, could you enter Thailand, but could you get back into your home country from Thailand? For those needing to leave and finally sort out their matters overseas, or wanting to visit family, the window was possibly closing, and in the third quarter of the year, we saw a number of vloggers leave, returning for trips or extended stays back to Europe or the States, like Dave's return to Sweden, where their house was sitting empty. This was also a time where restrictions in Thailand were really hitting businesses and impacting everyday people. Many channels showed this, and many also tried to help people in the local areas with food donations and fundraising.
We have a convoy of about 40 volunteers. So what's happening today? Today we're going to go around and we're going to deliver all these packages.
All behind me here are people in a queue for food, and we're going to feed them today. So we have the recent restrictions in Bangkok have absolutely crippled the economy. This is the harsh reality of life down here.
We saw the likes of Chuck and Paige and Chris leaving for the US and Canada, followed in later months by others such as Lily, James and Greenie, with some vloggers finding a safe harbour on Koh Samui, where the situation for them was better. As cases peaked in mid-August, and in a role reversal of the previous year, it was Thailand that was soon to be red-listed by other countries. The UK, for example, putting it on the red list in the final days of August.
Bad news for British sandboxers on Phuket or elsewhere in Thailand, as well as anyone else planning to travel from Thailand to the UK, because Thailand is now being added to the UK's red list from next Monday.
In September, though, we saw the boxing match of the year, Paddy and Note's charity match for the people of Koh Samui, raising an incredible 600,000 baht, and showing how both these guys were a great sport. We also saw Chris return and show his experience of the Phuket Sandbox, as the western summer headed towards autumn, and cases in Thailand continued dropping. Together with the increased vax population, we saw Thailand be removed from red lists, with the UK removing them mid-October. And with that came the flow of vlogger returns, either through the Sandbox in October, like with James, or through the newly created Test and Go scheme.
They have this down to a science now. They absolutely know what they're doing. They are ready to deal with large volumes of people.
Thailand has reopened to vaccinated visitors after 18 months of COVID-19 restrictions.
Thailand has reopened its borders to visitors from 63 countries and territories.
This looked set to help Thailand's long-suffering tourist industry.
Being the first day, there were some hiccups here and there.
Although there was some admin and paperwork involved, many were willing to do it. We saw Chuck and Paige and many other vloggers use this option.
Over 50%. Up next stop, Bangkok.
Have to go home. Darling, I'm coming home. Yes, there are some planes outside.
We're back.
Then, just as the tourist numbers were steadily increasing and a relatively good high season was on the horizon by the end of November, the new variant arrived. With too many unknowns, other than it being more contagious, this onion variant, as Thailand bloggers seem to prefer calling it, led to many countries bringing in restrictions or even going into lockdowns, as the travel barriers were put straight back up again. Thailand suspended the test and go scheme, but with a few familiar faces making it through, having already had their Thailand pass approved. So what for 2022? With the onion variant, thankfully, looking to be less serious than the likes of Delta, countries are again opening, and we'll soon have test and go version 2. Let's see how it goes out there in the Thailand vloggers universe.